General McLear was fed up with the current standings of the war. Hunter and Tony were both captured behind enemy lines, and the Chaos Brigade was still surveying the area for a second rescue mission. Meanwhile, the Blues were no help to him at all. It was seeming like the war was turning sour for him, and all his allies were crumbling before his very eyes. But a glimmer of hope did reach his mind. The Oranges. Supposedly, they were on some sort of a crusade towards the capital city, but at the moment, they were deep in red territory, far from his concern. Even a report recently stated that the Greens had to deal with them at their border now. Wait, that was it, McLear thought to himself. If the Greens were dealing with the Oranges down south, then they would surely have to pull some troopers from the front lines right now to support a second front. Now would be an opportune time to restart the front lines with the Greens. But how would he go about it? A penetrating movement, that's how. Attack one region with all the forces they have and create a bulge in the lines. Then flank around the back through the bulge and wipe out the remaining forces. But it would have to be with a highly mobilized unit to commit to the initial smash through. Perhaps a wall of tanks, followed by a mechanized infantry unit. It could work. This plan composed by the general could have been a means of finally being able to do something in a helpless situation. Or it could have been tactical genius. Whatever it was, the general had made up his mind that it was happening. Private, get me the officers. I have a new plan. The private was relieved to finally have orders. He'd been standing there awkwardly watching the general think for the past 30 minutes. Hey, what's going on, guys? It's your boy Daily Tactics here, and today we are back with another episode of Army Men Civil War. This series was on a bit of a hiatus as Rico's brigade was shuffled on out there. I needed to focus on that, but we're back with another episode today, and it is a booming one because we have the largest accumulation of Army Men tanks that we have ever done before. This is going to be the Tan Blitzkrieg strategy. So the first wave of the Blitzkrieg is going to be a huge number of Tan tanks all barreling on forward, and then the second wave is going to be these mobilized infantry that will hop out of the mobilized vehicles and trudge along, killing any remaining green soldiers. Normally in a Blitzkrieg, the first wave is actually aerial bombardments, but sadly the aerial bombardments don't really work in this game, so we can't have that. Either way, the Greens aren't super well prepared for this attack. They've been dealing with issues on their flank, and they are still recovering from some previous battles in the war, so they do have a few pack guns. This one is like floating. Very interesting. Okay. Defying the laws of physics. They do have some pack guns. They also have some tanks further back. They've got some M24 Chaffies. They've also got some of these Stuarts and whatnot, and they've got bazooka men and infantry. But overall, not nearly as strong of a force as the Tans are laying on thick, but they do have the defensive advantage, and they have more infantry than the Tans do. So it should be a really interesting battle, guys. Be sure to hit the like button if you do enjoy the video, and without further ado, let's get it going. Alright, my fellow gamers, let's go ahead and get this thing started. Going in slow-mo for the first bit here. Pressing start now. Let's see what this pack gun has to offer for us. Perhaps it'll get a few kills. Okay, one soldier on the pack. Okay. Both soldiers on the pack gun immediately get targeted and immediately get slaughtered by the oncoming Tan tanks. We see that the green infantry is blaring out some of their machine guns. They could be going for the top gunners inside of the tanks, or they could be trying to shoot past the tanks and hit some of those troop transports that are likely unloading their troopers right now, and it looks like that is the case. Lots of Tan troopers are in fact evacuating. Lots of them are getting hit pretty hard by some green infantry fire, perhaps some green pack gun fire as well. Tan tanks barreling on forward, though they don't want to give these pack guns time to really get a good setup going, get a good rhythm of unloading, reloading. They don't want that happening at all, though I do imagine a lot of the pack guns are probably already down, given the first one we saw instantly got KO'd. Yeah, here's another downed pack gun. There were 4 on the front lines. I'm only seeing the 2, though. I think some might be in the brambles. Likely they're all dead at this juncture in the battle, or obliterated. Yeah, I'm seeing 3 white triangles, which which represent the pack guns on the minimap. So clearly all the pack guns have in fact bit the dust here just instantly, and that's sort of the beauty of a Blitzkrieg style battle during the early days of World War II, when the German army blitzkrieged on through various defensive positions, especially flanking around the Maginot Line and just surprising the French, who were gearing up for another World War I style battle, with artillery, with trench lines, with machine gun emplacements, stuff like that to stop an assault. They were taken completely by surprise by this new type of a tactic, and it just was the type of warfare where if the Germans barreled through fast enough and hit them hard enough, then there just was no responding. So that's sort of what we're seeing here with the Tans. Though I do think the Greens here could potentially get a victory. I mean, we're already seeing some of the heavier tanks for the Tans going down. You have to know that most of the Tan tanks are really, really weak. They have M24 Chaffies, they have Stuarts. The heavier tanks are the Pershings and the M4s, and already we're seeing M4s going down, quite a number of them. So that's a good sign for the Greens, and just bazooka shots can manage to do that. So I'm thinking if the Greens do manage to kill enough of these tanks in the early stages of the battle, then in the later stages of the battle they will be able to continue that sort of trend and ramp it up a little bit, allowing for them to eventually win. It's a war of attrition, but a war of attrition against these absolute Goliaths. Because in all honesty, the Tan infantry numbers are very, very small. I mean, as we can see already, Tan infantry is going down by a lot. I mean, there's still green soldiers inside of these trench lines that haven't been killed by the tanks that are just sort of barreling on through, and they're managing to kill a ton of Tan soldiers. Look at the bodies piling up right now. It is pretty brutal for the Tans, and they have a fraction of the force of the green soldiers. I mean, if we look at the minimap right now, blue are Tan soldiers, red are green soldiers in the top left. So clearly the Greens can manage to win this battle by infantry as long as they take out the tanks, and it looks like they are doing a nice job there. They do manage to blow up that Stuart, but the reaction fire actually ended up toppling over a lot of these green soldiers over here. Many of them get back up though, which is good to see. This Piat doing some nice pot shots at some M4s as they barrel over this train track here, taking them out quite nicely indeed. Their trench is getting flooded by some water. Actually, during World War I, that was a common problem, was that the trenches would get filled with water and they'd have to bail them out, and it'd be extremely difficult to do. That was one of the major problems of the Battle of the Somme, I believe, was that was it Verdun or the Somme? I can't remember. After one of these, it was either Verdun or the Somme, after one of the major assaults of that battle, it just poured buckets of rain, and so soldiers had to bail out their trenches. It was absolutely brutal, just a terrible existence in trench warfare. It was truly horrific. So the green soldiers there experiencing a little bit of that. Meanwhile, more Tan tanks continue to go forward, but again, they are getting scrapped pretty well now. I mean, it's a pretty steady stream, but as we can see, 5 or 6 tanks right here alone have gone down, and I think that's the result of green tanks, perhaps. I think the majority of the losses are, though, from these Piats and bazooka troopers who are managing to get some nice strikes against these Tan tanks. So I think the Greens are making a bit of a comeback in this battle, as they were sort of getting wrecked before. They are now doing the wrecking towards these tanks, though the tanks are still wreaking some havoc here and managing to take out a lot of the green infantry, and that is going to be key, because if the tanks don't focus in on the infantry and take a lot of them out, then the Tan infantry will surely go down by the end of this battle. So, good to see that the Greens are clapping back a little bit, and it is not going to be a one-sided battle. It is still yet to be seen if the Greens will achieve victory. Bit of a clog, honestly, back here in the Tan lines. They seem to be getting sort of stuck on each other here. And the scrap tanks are sort of blocking the railway path, and it's just creating a traffic jam, really, which is something that, during war you hardly ever think about, is the fact that, logistics wise, it is very, very difficult to do armored invasions because, you know, tanks do get stuck like this quite often, and it can be tricky to unjam you know, just these heavily armored vehicles from being in the way and whatnot. So it's kind of interesting to see that in action here. The clogging is resulting in bigger explosions for the vehicles, and also simultaneously resulting in progress not really being able to be made in the Blitzkrieg overall. Here we've actually got the Tan infantry continuing forward, lots of them getting slaughtered on the railroad area over here, but more are making it past, which is good to see. They're taking on the green trenches quite far away, the green trench lines over here. Pretty much standing for the most part. A few losses have been taken, obviously, but these guys seem relatively untouched from the Tan tanks, so hopefully the Tan tanks can double back and hit them pretty hard. Most of the Tan tanks choosing instead to barrel over the left flank, maybe doing a bit of a sweeping to the right after a while. That could be what we see in the future of this battle. The M24 Chaffee of the Greens over here does end up getting taken down. The Greens do have a Stuart over here still, and another M24 Chaffee over here, which seems to have taken out a Tan M24 Chaffee, and perhaps this M24 Chaffee as well. The Tan tanks are really suffering some serious losses now, but still more come barreling through, and that's just the effect of mass production on the Tan home front. They're able to send this many troopers forward, but I do have to say the Greens have even the odds quite nicely here. I mean, Tan infantry is down to a couple squads over here who are still pushing forward, so you got to give them that. You know, they are putting their heart into this battle and continuing to attack. And then there's only, I don't know, 5 or 6 actual tanks left for the Tans and a handful of these troop carriers. So the Tan tanks have certainly dwindled in terms of numbers as well, and coming on to this last little defensive area, we are already seeing bazookas and Piats firing away, taking out more Tan tanks. So this could be an overall defeat for the Tans if they're not careful. They need to really buckle down and you know, focus their fire, make sure they're taking out the Greens systematically, not letting the Greens get the upper hand in the slightest, because you know, the slightest misstep here could result in a Tan defeat. If we look at the minimap right now, red are the Tans, blue are the Greens in the top left. I think a lot of the Tan infantry is over here from what it looks like. Almost entirely the Tan tanks are over here, but the infantry chose to go on the opposite path. Usually it's a bit more of a you know, follow the leader type of a deal in a Blitzkrieg, not so much the tanks take one half of the battlefield, the infantry takes the other half of the battlefield, but that's sort of how it ended up here, weirdly. Kind of a strange system of doing things, but I guess in the battlefield, in the heat of the moment, that's just how the cards were dealt. That was how the things ended up happening. We see a Tan M24 Chaffee sneaking around over here, along with a Stuart. They're clearly trying to take out this green M24 Chaffee, which is still alive in the trenches over here. Point your gun that way, sir. Just point it that way. Dude! You're just letting it get free shots on you. You might have actually just scrapped it. I don't know. What is happening here? They're not even trying at taking out this tank. Okay, that thing is definitely down now. Why isn't the Stuart firing? Bro, Chachki, what you doing to me here, bro? It's so pathetic. I don't even know what's happening. A Pershing coming up over this little hill here. It is taking some shots in the side. Might want to stop and just start firing. Actually, it's going to be forced to stop as it does get tracked right there, and its engine gets blown out as well, so that is donezo for this thing. Pretty big sad right there. I'm guessing a mixture of bazookas and the Stuart over there managed to track it and then cripple it. Oh, the Tan assault is not looking too hot. I mean, we still have some troop carriers coming forward. The infantry is still alive, Joe, though not high in numbers anymore. They seem to be coming up to this M24 Chaffee area. Maybe a Tan bazooka man could take it out, as the Tan tanks seem to have failed. Let's start bringing forward some of the Tan troopers that are just way in the back over here, and let's also get repairs going on all of these tanks, because That is the repair rule. Is there any troopers we want to retreat back for the greens? Because that is another rule. There are a few that I think could make it back, so we'll retreat a few of the green soldiers there. Bada bing, bada boom, and that is my job done. It's up to the combatants now to finish the job here. Still a few green soldiers left alive inside of these trenches, and they are still fighting pretty well, managing to continue to scrap more and more tan vehicles that are coming forward here, but the greens are not high in numbers anymore. They are certainly down to their sort of last stand area here. The big thing is that the greens do have this Stuart left alive that's managing to get a lot of shots off, especially at this enemy Stuart, and they also have this M24 Chaffee that is still alive here, surrounded by tan infantry, and it doesn't seem to be doing much, but I mean, it could end up doing something, I suppose. Oh, those Stuart troopers do end up bailing out, and most of them get slaughtered right there. Tank crewmen going down. Sad to see indeed. The last few remaining troop carriers using their 50 cals to the best of their abilities. Maybe getting a few kills here or there on the green soldiers. I mean, the greens really only have these soldiers over here and then the 2 tanks. That's all they got. The tans, I mean, they've still got a Pershing back here. This thing's damaged, so we can do the repair rule. I think that's one of the major problems, is a lot of the tan tanks did end up getting damaged pretty horrifically, which caused a few problems for them. Alright. Oh! A couple of bazookas end up showing up at the M24 Chaffee over here. Oh! All that's left are helmets and guns. Well, that's the end of the tan infantry. There's a few more guys up there, but like half of their force just died right there. Oh my god, that was brutal, man. That was absolutely brutal. Alright, I mean, the greens are getting slowly but surely choked out here. A couple more green infantrymen over here and a Stuart left alive. This has been a seriously costly battle for both sides. Definitely not a decisive victory for either side. I do think the tans are probably going to win at this juncture. I think the greens managed to clutch it up pretty nicely, but not to the extent where they'd be able to win this thing. So, you know, we're seeing the defeat in action here. The last few soldiers in the trenches getting killed out. There you go. And then the Stuart is going to get systematically destroyed here. It is the last remaining unit for the greens on the battlefield right now. And it is getting peppered by heavy armor-piercing 50 cal bullets, which do manage to pierce the armor there, and the troops try to bail out but get killed. So the tans do end up winning here, but a very, very Pyrrhic victory indeed. This is all the tan infantry left alive right here. Like a squad of tan troopers left alive in terms of infantry. They didn't start with much to begin with, though. But tank-wise, I mean, they got like 5 or 6 tanks left, most of which had to be field repaired, so they're going to need to be brought to factories to get full-on repaired if they want to last any longer in this war. And they lost a whole bunch of troop carriers as well. I mean, each of these billows of smoke is a downed tank, with even more that aren't billowing smoke at the moment, which are downed as well. A really costly battle overall for the tans. It was pretty brutal. As you can see, yellow are dead tans, red are dead greens, but this isn't even representative of the totality of the battle because so many tanks were rolling over bodies and so many explosions deleted bodies that we can't see them all. Just a truly costly victory, but it was a victory for the tans, so that can be said. Either way, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed. Be sure to comment, rate, and subscribe if you did enjoy, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Be sure to click that subscribe button for more content, and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted to whenever I live stream or upload. Thanks so much.